boxing news.
The Tank fans, they've been hating Lamont Roach because he's went on tour off a draw. I kind of think it's getting like disgusting. The way that he's big leaguing Gary Russell Jr. and the way that he's talking like, why would I do this? And like, you got to draw with Gervonta Tank Davis. Now you're literally living off Gervonta Tank Davis, bro. Like, no, you have a belt at 130 pounds. Gary Russell Jr., DC legend. That's a big fight for the DC. You could even put that in DC. Lamont Roach, like, I don't know. Maybe Lamont Roach got Tank number, but Gervonta Tank Davis created a monster, bro. And this man is draining every single aura point.
Trying to cover up his own bullshit with popular jargon that Lamont Roach is draining Gervonta Davis's aura points. No. Lamont Roach is waiting for the rematch, like most of the world was waiting for the rematch. The rematch that Two-Tone thinks nobody wants to see. But somebody wants to see Lamont fight Gary Russell. Who wants to see Lamont Roach fight Gary Russell? Who was asking for that? When has Gary Russell, in the entirety of his boxing career, ever been in high demand that all of a sudden you want to swap Gervonta Davis out for him? But that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about helping Gervonta Davis move away from this expected Lamont Roach rematch on the premise that a fight with Gary would be bigger.
Gary Russell Jr., DC legend. That's a big fight for the DC. You could even put that in DC. Lamont Roach, like.
So you're framing it to where nobody wants to see Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Davis too, but they do want to see Gary Antoine Russell. This is what the boxing community wants. Nope. This is what you want. Because you, like Ellie Seckback, like a lot of content creators and Gervonta Davis supporters, are afraid he can't win the rematch, and you're trying to make it easy for him to disappear. Two-Tone said that he wants Gervonta Davis to handle his legal troubles, move on from this, and go into the bigger fights. When he says bigger fights, he's not talking about fights with Shakur Stevenson or fights with Keyshawn Davis, Teofimo Lopez. They're trying to make it easy for Gervonta Davis to bail on Lamont so that he can fight a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. That is the play. Who the fuck is asking for that? These guys are, because they're afraid that Gervonta can't get it right the second time out. These are the ones asking for that. It's a psyop, a poorly decorated one, poorly disguised. Because how could the same guy that told you that nobody was asking for Canelo versus Crawford now tell you that somebody's asking for Davis versus Pacquiao? Do you understand that he's talking about the biggest fight of the year, the biggest card for the biggest money on the biggest platform with the biggest profile? This content creator is trying to convince you that nobody wants that, but they want to see Gervonta Davis fight a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao more than they want to see him run it back with Lamont Roach. Now, there are a lot of contributing factors to boxing's decline in America, some bigger than others, but this has its role to play. These gimmick content creators, their ulterior motives, these fanboys disguised as members of the media like Ellie Seckback. They do the sport more harm than good, given how they choose to package it, choose to present it. They do the sport more harm than good, because every member of the media, every single one, should be shouting it from the rooftops that Gervonta Davis needs to fight Lamont Roach again before he can do anything. Every member of the media that claims to be a member of the media, myself included, is supposed to be putting pressure on Gervonta to have that rematch, not run away from it, run to some other fight that nobody is asking for, because that in turn inundates the market with more of what we don't want, more of what we didn't ask for. Hell, we didn't ask for the first Lamont Roach fight. We didn't. But now that we're interested in a second, you don't want to do it. You don't want to give us that. Instead, you want to give us something else. So this sort of speaks to something that veteran boxing scribe Steve Kim pointed out. Steve said, I have a question. Is anyone speaking out on behalf of the boxing fans? Does anyone care about them, ever? These, us, poor schmucks, keep getting force-fed stuff we never asked for, and expect to support this game. Gervonta Davis has only ever one spin in a fight that people wanted to see, and that was the Ryan Garcia fight, for obvious reasons. A unique blend of low-hanging fruit and marquee value is what made that fight possible, but the rest of the time, he's just serving you up fights that you don't want. And these guys, these content creators, They're helping him. Sort of psyop to where they try to convince you that people wanted him to fight Frank Martin, or they wanted him to fight Rolly, they wanted him to fight Isaac Cruz, Mario Barrios, even when the pay-per-view numbers are extraordinarily low. They try to convince you that just under or just over 200,000, oh my God, that's amazing. That's great. They try to convince you that he's the face of boxing as major network after major network exits from the sport and metrics for the sport, interest is in decline. They tell you you don't want a Lamont Roach rematch. What you really want is for Tank to move on to the big fights. And what big fight are you referring to? So any business that is a business relies on the principle of supply and demand. There is a demand to be met, and you supply what is necessary to meet it. But only in boxing, American boxing, and let's make that distinction, because it's only this way in America, do they try to do the opposite. They don't give you what you want, what you're asking for. They try to serve you up something else instead, and then tell you that you're supposed to like it, that this is better. So that if I go to Carmine's and I ordered a chicken parm, I'm not expecting the salmon, the fettuccine alfredo, the lasagna. I'm expecting chicken parm because that's what I asked for. Chicken parm. So when I see that you're trying to convince me that I want to see Gervonta fight somebody else. I don't want to see him fight Lamont again. Oh no, I want to see him with a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. Two-Tone didn't say it outright. Somebody else did. Another member of the media.
I would say, and this is just my conjectures, I'm not like curing anything, so to speak, but a fight that would be a big deal, because my understanding about the Barrios fight is it did not do very well in terms of the pay-per-view. But that if they want to make a truly big event that would probably do much, much better on pay-per-view, a guy who doesn't have anything set at the moment for a lot of reasons, and that's Tank Davis against Pacquiao. Because the Lamont Roach fight seems dead in the water in terms of that rematch.
You see how he tried to sneak it in there? He's trying little by little to normalize that conversation, that proposition that Gervonta should not fight Lamont Roach, but instead move up to fight a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, as if anybody's asking for that little nugget of truth. He let it slip out that the Pacquiao versus Barrios fight, it didn't do good on pay-per-view. It didn't do good at the box office. I did not expect it to, because no one was asking for that. Manny is a legend. Manny was great in his day, but he's not what he was. It's just another example of how boxing in this country, keeps trying to serve you up things that you don't want, that you're not asking for. I was not asking for a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao to come out of retirement and be fast-tracked to a world title opportunity. I think the world champions should be boxing the other world champions. So when a fight like Pacquiao versus Barrios underperforms, you know why. Nobody was asking for that. And they're not going to pay $80 for something they weren't asking for. It's the same for Gervonta Davis. Gervonta has been on pay-per-view 7 or 8 times by now, but he's only ever did serious numbers once, just once. Because the rest of the time he's fighting in fights nobody's asking for. No one is asking for him to move up to fight Manny. And then you wonder why boxing in America isn't what it used to be. The audience just isn't as interested anymore, as opposed to what you see in the UK or what you're seeing in Japan. What is the difference? The audience is getting the fights that they want. In those boxing markets, they are not getting those fights. In this one, as it pertains to Manny, he's officially climbed to the #1 spot via the World Boxing Council's welterweight rankings following his return last month. Another psyop. When I saw Manny Pacquiao in there with Mario Barrios last month, I didn't see all the makings of a #1 contender. See, the problem with the people in the industry, on the business side of it, is they think that me and you are stupid, that we're so sentimental we've got no hierarchy of thought, no better judgment, that, oh, look at Manny, he's back.
He's fountain of youth.
It's like he never left. That's what they expect me and you to tell ourselves while we watch a C-class fighter and Mario Barrios go easy on him. Way too many quiet moments in that fight where Mario isn't doing much of anything, where he could be and should be throwing punches and stepping into them, taking it to the older fighter, and instead he does nothing. Because he's not doing nothing, that allows a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao to throw some combinations, let some punches go with little consequence, little coming back at him, giving you the illusion that Manny's back and he's doing it. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's a goddamn joke. Because the people in boxing on the business side of the industry, they think me and you are idiots. When they're the idiots, and that's what the numbers show. You're trying hard to keep serving us stuff that we don't want.
Yeah.
Interest is down. The major networks are walking away. Fans are not buying fights anywhere near as much as they used to. And you keep doing it. In spite of this downward trend, you keep doing the same thing.
What the fans want is not complex. They want fights.
Where what you keep trying to sell us are ideas and brands.
Manny Pacquiao's time is done. His time is over.
Because they scored at a draw with a C-class fighter in Mario Barrios doesn't mean he's back to his old ways, his winning ways. What I saw is that he's not.
I heard somebody once say that boxing is a business dressed up as a sport.
Somebody in the industry, while these fat dumbasses chuckle to themselves thinking that they're getting over on us, you're not. Because we're not buying this crap.
If we were, I could see. If playing on the sentimentality of the boxing community at large were resulting in profits, then I would understand. But it's not.
The ends have to justify the means. If what you're doing is not achieving the desired result, then why do you keep doing it? And now you think we want to see a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao fight Gervonta Davis. Boxing is a business dressed up as a sport. That's what some people say. But I see the elements of sport in the United Kingdom. I still see those elements in Japan and Australia, parts of Mexico. It's only in America they treat boxing like it has to be a grift. And it has to be a scam.
A come-up.
Guy like Mario Barrios ain't supposed to have a title. He's supposed to be on somebody's highlight reel. That's it.
He's not a world-class fighter. I don't care how that sounds. You can give him a belt, but I don't see a champion.
It's the same with Rolly. It's not like he was interim champion. You guys literally made up a belt out of thin air for the Ryan Garcia fight, and he was in the right place at the right time.
With the right bum.
In his very first fight as a welterweight.
With the right bum.
You can give him a belt, but I don't see a champion, and I ain't buying none of this schlock. Boxing in the United States is seeming more and more like a gimmick. Gimmick-driven.
It wouldn't be so bad if people weren't onto the gimmick if they weren't onto you, but they are.
Now onto the real boxing involving the real boxers. Eddie Hearn stated, we talked about him, Bivol, stepping up and fighting Jai Opetaia at Cruiser, which I think is a fantastic fight.
I agree.
Dmitry Bivol is in many ways a more accomplished and more decorated fighter than Jai Opetaia has had the opportunity to become. On the unification front, he's not having any luck. Zurdo Ramirez is out, having had shoulder surgery. The reigning WBC champion Badu Jack is on the hook to fight Noel Mikhailian again. The former champion named his mandatory challenger, so for Jai, becoming undisputed is not an option right now. Of course he wants to.
Like Dmitry wanted to. Dmitry got his crack at the apple, but Jai Opetaia has yet to get his, sporting an unblemished record of 28 wins with no losses and no draws, 22 knockouts. He's the most dangerous man in the cruiserweight division. Dmitry Bivol just fought the most dangerous man at light heavyweight.
Twice.
2 times. The caveat is people are expecting a third. When can we expect it is the question. So we know what's going on with Dmitry. He just had back surgery that's going to keep him out for what remains of this year. If he's lucky, the IBF will let him keep his belt.
If he's lucky, but that's with strings attached. If they let him keep his belt, upon his return, he will have to face Michael Eifert first. Before he can face Artur Beterbiev, he would have to face Michael Eifert first. Artur Beterbiev would have to make it through not only Dion Nicholson, who we talked about in my previous video, but he might also have to make it through David Benavidez.
It's getting convoluted is what I'm getting at. That there are a lot of moving parts as to what the future holds for Dmitry Bivol. It's not set.
Nope.
It's not certain.
Nope.
There are a lot of moving parts.
So when you start talking about the potential of Dmitry moving up for a Jai Opetaia fight, how far in the future are we talking? How soon could we expect a move like that? Just based on what we've seen so far, what we know about those fighters, those two champions here and now.
I often wondered if Dmitry Bivol would have the right physical dimensions to maybe move up one day and campaign as a cruiserweight, because he's not that big a guy. He's actually pretty lean for a light heavyweight. So could he make it at cruiser I often wondered about that.
And then I saw Zurdo Ramirez pick up not one, but 2 alphabet titles after his lopsided loss to Dimitri, and I thought to myself, if Zurdo Ramirez can win 2 alphabet titles at cruiserweight, then Dimitri can win 2 alphabet titles at cruiserweight, because Dimitri is by and large a better boxer than Zurdo Ramirez. Albeit a bit smaller, he is a better boxer. And it's not like the gene pool at cruiser is all that deep. It actually isn't. 2 of the 3 champions that are there are guys that moved up. Zurdo Ramirez has fought as low as 168, and so is Badu Jack. But they're both champions now at cruiser. So, if they can pick up a title there, I think Dimitri can pick up a title there.
If they can hang with the big boys at cruiser, I think Dimitri can hang with the big boys at cruiser. Can he beat Jai Opetaia, though? Because that's the conversation. That's the focus. If he moved up and he fought Jai Opetaia, would he be able to deal?
I think it's possible. Jai Opetaia is very much the most dangerous man at cruiserweight. He is. And I think he's the biggest puncher there, too.
But there's 2 things you want to pay attention to. 1, how well is Jai Opetaia making cruiserweight? And how much longer before that becomes difficult? To where it starts to hamper his performances, to where his power wanes, and so does his punch resistance. How much longer can Jai Opetaia keep making cruiser? That's 1.
Dimitri Bivol's acumen as a boxer is 2. Dimitri Bivol is better defensively than anybody that Jai Opetaia has fought so far, and better defensively than anybody at cruiserweight right now. I can say hand on heart, Dimitri's a better all-around boxer than the majority of those guys. He's just a little smaller.
Got a better engine than Jai Opetaia. That's 3. Jai Opetaia often takes his fights out of the judge's hands. He's seldom ever been the 12-round distance.
As a result, he doesn't have the best engine. So if this fight goes into the later rounds, Jai Opetaia could gas out, and Dimitri Bivol could take over.
I could see that.
It's either Jai Opetaia knocks him out early because he's too big and he's too strong, or Dimitri Bivol takes over and wins a points decision late. Dimitri Bivol, who ended Artur Beterbiev's knockout streak. Up until he ran into Bivol, Artur had knocked every man out they put in front of him, but he couldn't knock out Dimitri, and he had 2 cracks at the apple.
Dimitri's seen big punchers before, devastating punchers. Jai would just be another. You can give Dimitri Bivol decent odds to win that fight.
Decent.
There are a lot of moving parts, as stated. It all depends on when it happens, how Jai Opetaia is holding up, as well as Dimitri. But preliminary thoughts, I don't think it's a hot take to say Dimitri stands a chance.
That as a cruiserweight, he wouldn't be a fish out of water, because Badu Jack isn't, Zurdo isn't.
Dimitri might do all right.